when the dev stream is always muted, because then otherwise they get feedback from me talking with myself.
That makes sense. Yeah, I've done some game streaming before, so I'm at least familiar with some of it.
Sweet. Hey everybody, welcome to another Tuesday night stream. It is 6:06. Sorry for the brief delay. We are setting up here so that we have two people. It is me, Stephanie, and this is Richard.
Hello.
Richard, this is your second day on Team Stonehearth.
Yeah, it's my second day. Pretty good. I moved down here from the not as rainy as you would expect, north of Vancouver, BC, where I've been for the last 2 years. And yeah, super excited. I have discovered the tastiness that is Bay Area food.
Exactly 2 days.
So good. Some of you may or may not know me from my days when I was a designer on League of Legends. The username I used there was Brackar, Brackkhar. Worked on a bunch of characters there, Janna, Nivea, Tarek, whole other things. But yeah, I'm super excited to be here working with Stonehearth team.
What has made you feel like moving from something like League to something like Stonehearth?
Well, I guess the easiest way to explain that is first that working on a game for 5 years is a lot of time. So I left League of Legends to go pursue some exciting stuff up in Vancouver, which unfortunately I can't talk about yet, but hopefully we'll be able to talk about soon. And yeah, about 2 months or so ago, I got a call from David Banks, one of the guys that works here, who I worked with for a long time in LA, and he was like, hey, you should check out what's going on, and I checked it out, and it's super sweet. So I like to do super sweet things, and I cannot read the text from here.
You cannot read the text
No, the mic was in the way.
The mic is in the way.
Excellent.
You were also a Kickstarter backer, right?
I followed the Kickstarter, though
okay.
I will admit I did not back it.
Oh my god.
And that
I've lied to the internet.
Yeah, you've completely lied. That was purely a result of I think when your Kickstarter came out, I had actually just backed 3 other Kickstarters like in the month before, and my wallet was a little unhappy. So that's purely fiscal reasons, not due to lack of faith.
Understandable. I think it's there's something really addictive about it. You're like, oh, and then I get another one, and then and then you get like the updates. No,
I'm a big fan of I started in the indie game space, and so I'm a big fan of supporting cool indie devs whenever I can. And yeah, there was a period where I was backing far too many things. So your Kickstarter came out about when I was slowing down.
So Halo Kills wants you to know, welcome to the community, and
hi.
Fair warning that there is a bit of obsession about sheep and hearthlings standing in fires.
That sounds amazing. Please tell me more about this obsession.
And why are you obsessed, and what do you want? What do you want from the fire? And it is good to see all of you, as usual, Geester and Halo Kills and Joe Maxro and all of you. Thank you all for coming every week. Do you guys have any questions for Richard, like while he's here hanging out? Otherwise, we're going to work on like texts and stuff, and more like Potter text and more like stories in game. But
I admit I am still getting comfortable with both the project and the team and the game and all that. So Stephanie was gracious enough to choose something simple to stream on that I can help out with a little bit. Later on, I'll be more than happy to join doing streams of more complicated, crazy designer stuff.
What do designers do? Like,
what do designers do?
Yeah.
I ask myself that sometimes too. I guess broadly speaking, the role of the designer is to kind of think about the big picture of the game. Not necessarily about like how it's marketed or things, but really like the game itself. What does it mean to be playing this game? What's the player experience that we want? What is the emotions that we're trying to evoke, and how do the systems around building inside the game meet the UI to create an organic experience that really pulls people into the world, and then how does that fit into the audio, the arts, the mechanics, what is physically happening when you click on the screen. I guess a way I generally like to describe it is that as a designer, I'm somewhat responsible for anything that the player interacts with. And that can be so many things. A lot of my role is actually just kind of making sure.
That sounds like everything.
Well, it's What's a good way to describe it? It's like not only are you the individual like building certain pieces of the game, like the mechanics or the progression or the meta narrative or the story, but you're also kind of the person that helps. I guess if you imagine a quilt where each little patch is like, oh, here is a piece of music, and here is a cool character story, and here is a system for making people hungry. Like, how do you weave all of those together into one really nice blanket that's super comfortable and you want to wrap yourself up in?
That sounds really great. Like, I feel like to be honest, one of the reasons that we started looking seriously for a full-time designer was because we got to a point, really with the engineer and your guys' feedback about the engineer, that was, we had this vision for it, and Linda and I both had this vision, and it was going to be like, oh, you're going to be this defensive... Well, first, Alpha 16 was about combat, and then Knight, Cleric, Archer, as you guys remember, and then, 17 had the engineer in it, and it was like, alright, the engineer is going to enhance combat. It's going to allow you to create defensive units so that you don't have to invest so strongly in your army. If you would literally like to follow, like, a more tech, a more, like, crafting-oriented way of defending your city, we would give you a way of doing that. And then when you guys actually started to play it, what you were telling us was that this is cool, but like there's a lot that doesn't feel right. And feel was something that came up a lot in all of our conversations on the discourse. Like, it didn't feel like it was correct. And there was a lot of conversation about is it that it doesn't feel right because it doesn't look right? Like, it's just firing turnips and no one's actually manning the turret. Or does it not feel right because you would never transform, like, it comes too late in the game, you wouldn't transform your high-level units back into workers to get them back in order to then allow this engineer engine to go forward, the turret to go forward. And then even then it was like, well, is the turret too powerful? It doesn't move, unlike your soldiers, so it must be more powerful to make up for the fact that it isn't a person but it also has this, constraint. And when we were trying to figure out how to tie that system with the existing combat system, with your feedback, we were just like, is there someone who actually knows how to do this, like, professionally? Because that would be so nice. Like, it would be, because, like, we've been making it up, and I think that we've had a lot of fun making it up, but maybe we could make it an even better game if, we got professional help, basically.
And
so thank you.
The weird thing about being a designer, so I've been a designer for actually getting on 8 years now. Design is an odd space because no design is perfect and no design is above critique. And the fact that I've been doing this for 8 years means that I've got only about a 60% chance of getting things right at any given point.
That's better than a coin flip. Yahoo!
Yeah. So it's tough. Like, just because you guys haven't had a designer working on a game doesn't mean that what's here isn't honestly like super cool. I know guys just like, oh, Steffi's an engineer. Well, Steffi's obviously a lot more than an engineer, otherwise the game wouldn't be in as good a state as it is.
And just to answer your previous question, what is it about fire, and would you like to know more about fire?
I always want to know more
It starts with this thread. It's Turtle Squish's thread about the legend of Rose Bell Tower, who I guess got stuck on top of a fire pit at some point during one of Allie's streams, and here she is. Standing in the fire, like, that's
amazing.
Yeah, well, it's just not dangerous to them yet,
So seeing this, I now really want to see a Hearthling running around with their pantaloons on fire.
With their I think we have that for orcs. Like, can I even just pull that up? Like, let's see. Do you have the archer test? Let's see. Does this work? No. All right, there's no archer test. There is a test that I have definitely seen that totally involves the fire arrows and the orcs. Let's do this. But yeah, so orcs can catch fire, but Hearthlings haven't yet gotten to catch fire.
They are. They're not flammable yet?
They're not flammable. Like, I feel like there's a part of the lore that I want to, an important part of the lore is that, really, at some point, like, there's going to be there's a time before flammability, and a time after flammability.
So it's not so much that Hearthlings have discovered fire, but that fire hasn't discovered them yet.
Yes, right? Like the fire, they don't know that they can burn, and they don't it's just great. All right, so let me try to remember. And I think actually it has to do with archers' quiver.
This is honestly great for me because I haven't had a chance to play with the debug tools yet, so I'm learning things as you're doing this.
The debug tools just let you put stuff down, and they're the coolest. Thank you, Yang. So the archer is now equipped a fire quiver, and wow, Allie, we need a better icon for this. I can't. I mean, like, the back of the icon's really great, but the top of the icon's not so great, and it doesn't match all the rest of the icons because it doesn't have a border around it, etc. But you knew this. All right, so currently we're using fire arrows, but I could have swapped that out for normal arrows. Oh. All right, now we're spiky. Ooh. Spiky arrows. All right. Have not seen that icon in a while. All right, so now the archer is using fire arrows, and I am going to spawn some monsters. The book is the campaign browser. These are all of the campaigns that are running. Wait, let's not start with orcs. Let's just do this. Trigger. All right, so now the
That's an interesting visualization.
Yeah, Yang and Tony, I think. All right, so great. Now we've got all the, like, we leveled up the archer all at once, so, like, they're telling me, like, oh, hey, the archer's leveled up. All right, now the goblins are here. We're going to decline, so now they're just going to attack us. And, let's see, 7. By the way, one of the other things that was happening around the time that we were like, holy cow, maybe a professional could help us here, is, you know, we oscillate pretty much firmly between having no direct control, but the party system is direct control, like, to the max. So you hit 7, it selects everyone in the party, and then you put a banner down, and now they're all running exactly to the banner that you've selected. And I haven't yet seen a game that, like, really does this transition fluidly, like, between, oh, they're so smart, but I want to control my guys. Anyway.
Yeah, Rimworld.
All right, there. Fire.
Okay, all right, it's coming.
Many thanks to Melly. No one's on fire yet?
Yeah, so you just need, like, that animation that he was doing right there.
There!
Oh, there you go.
They're on fire!
There you go.
And now he's running away and he's on fire. when Linda first put this in.
That's what I wanted to see. That animation when the Hearthling goes into the fire.
And she first added it, and it was on the orcs. And it was just like, orcs are really big, and the fire's really small, or was really small, and it was just their pants that were on fire. That was all. Like, it wasn't, like, big enough to get all of them. Just a little tiny bit, and it was just like, what is in those fire arrows?
So, like, technical question for you.
Yeah.
The animation that the goblins have here.
Yeah.
Can you apply that animation to the Hearthlings?
Yeah, Hearthlings have that animation too. Okay. The Hearthlings and the goblins share a lot of animations, and that panic hands is exactly what happens when Hearthlings run away also, actually. As long as the model is not too different, like, it is totally feasible.
Okay, I now have another goal for my first contribution to the game. Setting the Hearthlings on fire.
And making it mean something. Like, we were playing RimWorld on Friday, and a fire started, and it kept spreading and spreading and spreading, and we were like, we don't have destructible buildings yet, but we have wanted this for so long. Like, well, we have destructible buildings. We don't have in-game destructible buildings. So yeah, so there they go. Burning. Now the chest is on fire. Oh no, he's on fire. Yeah, this is great. Mally has done a lot to augment these particles too. Like, when he came in, I don't know if you guys remember, but the cleric burst was just like a really big blue thing, and it was very illustrative, and it was very different, and it was very cool. But it did not necessarily indicate, oh, this is healing, and it was also supposed to indicate, like, the area of the healing and stuff. And, you know, Yang worked on it for a long time.
For a scared goblin, he's got still a very angry face.
Yeah, right? It's because their expressions don't change. Like, one of the things that Tony has wanted since forever is the ability to change the expressions on the faces of the Hearthlings. Like, if you look at our Twitter account, like, the face on the Twitter account has, like, the happy eyes. And we've always thought it was really creepy that when they sleep, they don't close their eyes. But, well, here you go. Alright.
Is there a way you can force attack that sheep with the fire arrows?
I believe the sheep is actually now friendly to you.
Okay.
Is it possible?
I just wanted to
Do you
see
wanna
it.
know?
I just wanted to see a sheep
No,
on fire.
You cannot.
Okay.
I guess a really good question would be if we had actually. This is
Okay.
Bluebell the sheep. Like, you know, so like when the chieftain's like, "Ow, it hurts." Tell
Take
me,
my sheep, yeah.
like this is the sheep, and Yang has actually added the sheep. I guess the question is if we'd saved it right before.
Right.
Yeah. Let me do another.
Oh,
one.
hey, we got debug tools, right?
Yeah, we can. Let's.
I'm now dominating your stream just by setting things on fire. I apologize.
Yeah. No, this is totally. I'm all good with this. Let's see. So we'll decline again. All right. So now that'll put another goblin camp down in the world somewhere. Over there. And we have another Bluebell. Ah, okay. Let's give it.
Okay.
They need a moment to pop up.
We're just testing out.
We're testing.
It's important for us to know what the engine lets us do or not.
I would like to really
Okay,
sort of
there we
like. So now the sheep has been targeted. I'm so sorry, Yang. Like, I'm so sorry. I know you're watching this. You would have to kill the sheep before the chieftain. Yeah. Okay. So now Bluebell the sheep is targeted. Bluebell, no, run away! The terrible things we do.
See the secret of Stonehearth is that the goblins are actually the heroes in protecting Bluebell.
Yeah, right? Have you seen Ogo, like, Ogo's shaman has this, like, great rhyme about Ogo and about the destiny that Ogo has. And it's just like, you know, and you only get it after you kill him. And so it's like, well, this is super ironic.
Oh, I hope the guardsman doesn't kill him.
Yeah, right. Let's remove the sheep comment, and then let's see.
Could you put the archer in a different combat group?
Yeah, no, actually the archer can have individual commands.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So now only the archer should attack the sheep, because
yeah, the other ones will,
yeah.
Yes!
Oh no!
Yes!
The sheep is on fire!
Yes!
And doesn't know why it's on fire.
This is fine. This is fine.
Well, because the sheep doesn't have a panic animation. Why would it panic? Like...
Oh, man.
Oh... No, like, it's got the fire. Oh my goodness.
Wait a second. That sheep is withstanding that fire and arrow pretty well.
It is. It may be the case that these cannot actually... Oh, no.
Oh, no, okay.
No, it indeed died. There was just no way... Like, we, I guess, do not have hearts over sheep's heads because it has not been
what kind of cruel monster would attack sheep?
Would attack a sheep? This is a very good question. Secretly, though, perhaps the real story is that, whoa, who is killing our dudes? Alright, so as you can see, hearthlings can also flee. And I don't know, I guess these guys must have been spawned by other goblin camp and have killed all the rest of our people. So in retribution for what we have done to Bluebell, you can see that the goblin chieftain has sent his people to destroy our town and everybody in it. Of course, she's out of their range, so like they're just supposed to hang out near the banner, and so now we're at a standoff. But yeah, I was like, oh, that was weird.
All right.
Yeah, so
all right, well,
cool.
Thank you for indulging me.
I
appreciate that.
We've accomplished many things. You tried to screen grab it and missed. Well, you know, the good news is that the stream will be archived, so you can try again. Bluebell has 500 health. That's amazing.
Does that mean Bluebell is the tankiest creature in the game?
Yeah, seriously. Oh, that's so good. Oh, I'm so sorry. Ellie's like, I trusted you. I feel like this is a really bad thing. This is like a really bad precedent. So like we were playing, like I said, we were playing RimWorld on Friday.
Yeah.
And I had everyone eat the dog like after the dog got killed by
it's good meat, right?
And everyone was just really hungry, and I was like, well, you know, Baxter would have wanted it that way. And so that's so awkward.
Yes.
But yeah. So yes, Sleepy Sheeposaurus does say that, you know, they don't kill the sheep anymore because the sheep becomes neutral afterwards, and, well, you know, this is slightly awkward. Eventually they're going to come back. They're going to patrol this area, you're going to see, and then we'll have a showdown here. Yes, setting characters on fire was, I'm sure, a part of Yang's job when she was working on The Sims.
So, I can tell a story about The Sims, actually.
Okay.
So I heard this from one of the engineers that worked on The Sims, but when I think it was the Pets expansion for Sims 3.
Which I believe Yang worked on.
Yeah. Oh, so she probably knows the engineer that I'm talking about that.
She wasn't the engineer herself.
When they were working on the Pets expansion, my friend had to figure out what would happen when a dog caught on fire.
Oh no.
And so as a placeholder, he put it in that when a dog catches on fire and dies, the corpse just turns into a hot dog.
Oh my gosh!
And it
That's
actually
fantastic.
stood in the game for a very long time until a QA guy ran into the game, dog died, turned into a hot dog, and then his owner went down and picked up the hot dog and ate it.
Oh no!
It almost shipped, as he told me. But yeah.
Wow. I could see that. Like, every now and then, like, you can... Originally, like, the Trapper could render... Like, actively had to render things down into jerky. And then it was like, well, you've turned a raccoon into jerky, and then the raccoon eats... And then another raccoon who becomes your pet eats the other raccoon. And it's just like, well, this is kind of, like, maybe not okay. But yeah. That's great.
Yeah, Yang, it was, they couldn't burn, but it was, when Sammy was working on it, it was his, he described it as his, first implementation.
So good. Like, I mean, it's kind of actually kind of appropriate. Like, have any of you ever read, Upton Sinclair's The Jungle? Like, the book that caused everyone to stop eating meat, like, for a while at the turn of the century. It, like, destroyed some huge part of the meat industry right after he wrote it. Like, you really don't know what's in your hot dogs.
When did that come out, that book?
Upton Sinclair?
Yeah.
Maybe 1890?
So,
like,
yeah, there was actually a, funny enough, I'm wearing a Radiolab t-shirt. There was a Radiolab episode about, I think, how a group of industry people were trying to import hippos into Louisiana.
Whoa.
And it failed as a result of that book coming out and the failure of the meat industry.
Were they trying to import hippos for meat?
Yeah, for meat.
Wow.
Because it was like the bayous of Louisiana was like, it was an appropriate climate. And it's like, oh, well, we can't drain this to make like grazable land, but we can bring hippos in.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was late 19th century.
But then people didn't want to eat hippos.
Well, I hear hippo is actually pretty tasty, but...
Okay.
No, it was actually... Well, but to your point, though, it is... Yeah, I think it was because of the collapse of the industry a bit as a result of that book.
I mean, it's certainly come back, and regulations and all this other good stuff, but yes.
I may be getting the story a little bit wrong, but I do know hippos were tried to be imported into Louisiana in the late 19th century.
I find that fantastic. Like, it's like if we could just imagine hippo meat, like, what would that even be like? Is it really tender? Like, do they like totally live in the water all the time? They must have a lot of fat content.
Yeah, probably.
At the same time,
I mean, they're really buoyant. Yeah. They had to be buoyant, right?
Right? Yeah. So it would be like super delicious, probably, if you could get through that outer thick hide.
Yeah.
Also, I've heard that hippos are like the #1 killer of tourists in Africa because people think that they're safe, but actually they're like really ornery and they weigh a ton. So
yeah, they're super angry. It's like it's like moose and elk, right? Like they're incredibly dangerous animals.
Right.
Most people just think they're really cute. I love by the way the corrupting influence I'm having on this. We're already like burning sheep, talking about eating endangered animals, and yeah, it's great.
Well, Deluxe, you were there at PAX, right? Deluxe is asking people what their favorite food in the game is, and I have aberrant tastes. So you know. For those of you who haven't seen it, Deluxe made a video of us because he was hanging out with us at our PAX booth, and so he was interviewing all of us as to what our favorite foods were, and everyone else really likes cornbread, and like I think that's awesome. I think cornbread is delicious, but like I'm not.
Really
yeah,
awesome.
like.
But calling that your favorite food?
Well, I mean your favorite Stonehearth food.
Oh, favorite Stonehearth food.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Right. Exactly. So, any other questions that you guys have for Richard while he's here, please shout them out, and in the meantime, I will move on to doing the writing things that we were talking about, looking at the looking at the potter, who has no cornbread. Actually, it's so funny. So, we got an offer for help, actually, which is fantastic, because we were always happy to have more help. Someone from Riot down in LA, whose name is Nikki, who's a fantastic UX designer, offered to come help us do a little bit of a pass and work a bit more on Stonehearth. And she was saying that like her dream job when she was a little girl was actually to like make icons of food. And I was like, Nikki, like, you know, you offered to do UX for us, but you were very close now to your dream job. Like you were just like a little bit away, like half a step and one program away from like making tiny icons of food. You know, it would be really cool actually if Rise children had all their own food. But alright, so mind gone blank. Yeah, okay, cool. So I guess one question for you is that I've always had is like, how do people get into game design? Because I feel like as a field it looks really impenetrable. Like, do you just like sit in an armchair with like a fancy red wine or whatever and like, you know, dream about like this is totally what the game should be like? And like, you know, it never occurred to me ever that was something that I could pursue as a career. And I was like, all right, let's be pragmatic. Let's go study software engineering.
Yeah, so I can answer that. And also, my degree of separation to Kevin Bacon is, I think it used to be 5. I think it's 4 now, actually, because my wife has done extra bits in a bunch of different movies. So I'm sure at some point she has been an extra with an actor or a director or a writer that has worked with Kevin Bacon. Because Kevin Bacon's awesome and has worked in everything. Yeah, so design. Well, so there are a lot of different paths to get into design. For me, my path was I did an undergraduate and master's degree in computer engineering, thinking I would be a game engineer.
Okay.
And I had a lot of trouble actually going through the game engineering exams as a result of taking a computer engineering path as opposed to a computer science path.
Okay.
So at some point, after spending about a year or so pursuing game engineering interviews and also doing some indie game stuff on the side, I started applying for design internship positions. And I made up the title of technical designer because I'm like, well,
oh, you made that up.
I made it up, at least on my application. It wasn't, I mean, I'm sure there were technical designers when I was applying, but it wasn't a widely known field. If it was, I never saw applications or anything for it.
Yeah.
And yeah, just got lucky in that both Riot Games and another studio called Lightbox, which made Warhawk and Starhawk, were interested, and I ended up going with Riot. Broadly speaking, I'd say that getting into game design is actually it's an interesting field because it's a very hard field to judge in that unlike, say, art or where all of us have been culturally trained in like what well-executed art looks like,
right.
Or engineering where we can quantitatively say like, oh, this is a good algorithm or a bad algorithm, or writing where again we've been culturally trained to know what good writing or bad writing is. The game design is such a new like concept that it's really tough to judge who is a good designer and who's a bad designer, what is a good game idea or what is a bad game idea. Right. And as a result, it's a very it can become a very there are a lot of people applying for game designer positions, and my advice to anyone who's interested in game design is that because it's so hard to judge if someone is potentially good at game design or not, the best thing that you could do is actually make a game. Either go to some 24-hour game jams like Global Game Jam or Ludum Dare. There's a whole bunch. There's a cool roguelike one that runs really often. And make something there. It doesn't really matter what it is. Or like if you have an opportunity in your school to make a project game themed. So like I had to do a project on a particular type of assembly language programming, and so I decided to make a game from that as opposed to just doing what some of my friends did, which was like a text renderer or other things.
Sure, yeah.
that's always good because
you want it like on your portfolio.
Yeah, and ultimately, like, shipping a game is incredibly hard. Like, 90% of all game projects never go anywhere at all. So simply seeing someone having a completed project on their resume, regardless of the quality, immediately brings them to the forefront of any interviewing stack.
Sure. I also imagine that when you invented the term technical designer, that totally, like, that would have gotten my attention. Like, if I was a hiring manager, like just insofar as it's one thing to design things and have and have a beautiful design that works on paper, but like if you have a technical element, then you can actually implement it and then see how it feels and give it to people to play, as opposed to needing another person to help you with that. And even if in the end you totally do and you have other people who help you implement, like, you'll never be blocked, I guess. If you have a sufficient amount of... It was super
nice when I was starting at League of Legends that I could, like, dabble in the code base and fix things and not have to wait on engineering turnarounds. But to be fair, like, most indie devs do exactly that. Like, they make their own engine, and like, dudes like Toby Fox, like, are incredible because they make the engine, they make the art, they make the game design, they make the music, and I'm stuck only making the engine and the game design. I can barely draw a stick figure, so yeah, but I mean, having that technical background helps a lot, but frankly, any sort of technical background, be it like, oh, you have an artistic background and you want to do game design, or you have an animation background and you want to do game design, like, the more broadly researched you are and the bigger base you have to stand on, the easier it is to become a game designer, because so much of what I do today is not like writing documents or fiddling with numbers. It's actually talking to artists or animators or engineers and helping communicate ideas.
Right. I think that there's, and I imagine that in game design you are always talking with every person in all the parts of the silos. Like, well, if there are silos, ideally there would not be.
Cheapy, yes, game modding looks super good. It all comes back to, again, like, finishing work and showing finished work. Anything that you can do along that way is great. Like, most of my portfolio when I was applying was like some modding work. Like, I had a mod for Half-Life 2 that I'd worked on for a while. I had some balance mods that I made for Supreme Commander. But yeah, modding is really always great.
Feel free to keep on sending Richard your questions. In the meantime, just here in the background, I'm going to write down some things that don't have
so what are we looking
text
for?
Yet.
Are we looking for tooltips or the descriptive text?
The descriptive text down here. Hopefully they all have tooltips. The way that I write the descriptive text, as you guys on the screen know, red clay window, is I try to think of like a story that might have involved this item at some point in the history of this civilization. And it's not always Rise Children, because some of these things appear in Ascendancy too, but the Ascendancy might have gotten them through a potter who was taught by someone from Rise Children. So, and then from that story comes just one line that then makes it into the description. So, for example, like, it looks like we've got red clay window, tall clay window, tan clay window frame. So here is a story, like, we need to make up together a story about windows and like people who make windows and why windows are important, and then from that, like, figure out why someone associates a piece of that story with these people and with this object. Kind of like when, you know, it's like if you learn, like every time I use Lua for the rest of my life, like, I'm always going to think of the way that Tony, like, talks to himself while he's working on Stonehearth. Like, just sits at his desk and talks incessantly to himself. And, like, he'll be talking about Lua, he'll be talking about what he's written, he'll be, you know, and it's like if I were a crafter here, like, and something involving that, you know, piece of craft were here, the descriptive text for it would be, and then she always thought of Tony. Like, but, you know, it doesn't necessarily make any sense unless you have the context, but that's what we're doing here, like, making up the context.
Halo, to answer your question, my best advice for modders who are starting out, one, pick a game engine that is really supportive of mods. Like, I don't know, there's a couple that like to stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays that are pretty good for that. because obviously tool support and support from community, documentation, that's really helpful. Two, don't, especially if you're starting out, don't take too big of a task to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, it would be wonderful if we had like a working water wheel that creates electricity that can power like steampunk robots. Like, that would be awesome. But that's too much to do in one case. Like, a better thing to do is, you mentioned redwood tree mod. Like, do just something super simple and put it up there for people to consume. Probably people won't really get like I made a single redwood tree mod that much because it's fairly small, but then you make another mod that adds on top of that. Maybe you do like some birch trees as well, or you create an additional mod following that, which is like ground foliage around trees. And then ultimately, if you keep working in the same space, you can kind of create a bundle of your mods that actually has enough meat in it that people will get really excited by grabbing like all these like 20 or so different projects you made in the past, but thinking now that, this one big mod is just like awesome.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. So, what kind of story do we want to tell about windows? And I feel like it's kind of interesting because clay windows are like kind of like they're the holes you cut in a house.
For context, where are the stories? There were a couple windows that had stories. So
a lot of these are they're quotes from people who have been making the windows. So like the idea that there's the Iskander caravan, and the Iskander trading caravan actually is an Iskander trading empire, and it's gone back hundreds of years. It probably hasn't gone all the way back to the fall of the Phoenix, but it's been going for a long time. And so the windows are tiny little windows into the lives of the people who've had to sell, and market these windows. And so sometimes like you've got things that are like, like the latticed window you know and love, except now in green. And like you can imagine that it was created by somebody who was trying to sell the window. Reminiscence of a vine-covered treehouse window, faded into memory. Like, I think there's one here that was about bugs. Like, lets the bugs in, but at least not the really big ones. And it's like, you're like, yes, well, you want this latticed window because, though it sometimes lets the bug in, like, and then, like, you imagine that this too was inspired by some story about, like, a ginormous bumblebee or something. So lots of quotes here from marketing associates. And there's also some, like, comments here about the colors. Like, and you can see, like, it's a door, what more could we possibly say? And it's because this dude is just a marketing apprentice, but, like, you look later and you're like, well, people have been like, no, but really, where is this dye coming from? Like, where did you get this color? We're in the middle of the desert, like, there's nothing blue here. And then this one is just because everywhere in Santorini they use this color blue. Like, where's the dye coming from? It's coming from, like, some dude named Santorini, like, who was always thinking about the ocean. Right. So, a little bit all over the place. But, so, at the very least, like, the red hints at a mystery, a lure, what lies beyond yon red door? Ember Iskander, Department of Applied Poetry. Like, and this is in part a joke because, like, Brad is actually really good at poetry. Like, if he had lived in another time and in another place, I'm sure he would have been, like, a court poet. But now, like, what is the practical application of being an incredibly good wordsmith? Well, like, marketing. Like, coming up with like phrases that make people really remember things. So, yeah. So I feel like here you've got the tan window, the tall clay window, and the red clay window. Let me know if you guys feel any thoughts.
So, just using the red clay window as a moment, is there a theme between the blue and the green clay windows?
Not at the moment. So this one was just the dye's name for Santorini. This one is, no, but really, where's the dye coming from? This one is, like Flower, the game Flower from... Yeah, so, like, I love that phrase, like, the game is a flower's dream of spring. Like, so, the green clay window is a window's dream of spring. Because the flowers, of course, are sitting on a windowsill. Green latticed window, reminiscence of the vine... Yeah, this story, this was from one of you guys out in the stream, as were the bug one, for example. So, yeah. The tan clay lattice windows. You can have, like, a Hearth Link and walk through this. That's exciting. Okay. Let's see. So there's nothing on there. This one is, like, this one harkens back to the fact that the Rise children people talk about Monkey. They're the only civilization that talks about Monkey, their god. And, like, the idea that when you see the pattern move across the floor, like, oh, like, it intersects with the tiles in such a way that, like, you can see him, he's everywhere. I feel like this one wants a reference, like, to something else about tunnels. Like, in a very Lord of the Rings sort of way. And usually there's an attribution that adds a little bit to the universe.
I kind of like the direction you're going with the first idea, though maybe something less on point.
Right. Like, this is exactly it. These are different, by the way. They're just, Siraxi, thank you for the vine-covered treehouse one and the red door. The red door. Oh, right. This is about, like, hinted a mystery. Yes. Well, you guys are very good at it, so thank you. Guilty as charged for the bug one and the blue one. Those are also both fantastic. There's something. It's like you put the door in the tunnel. Why did you put the door in the tunnel?
Well, specifically, the tooltip says it's used for sealing lines, right?
Yes.
So that's not simply just like shutting, like closing a mine or protecting it. Like you're like, sealing it.
Yeah.
So I would raise the notepad a bit. The camera window is covering up the...
Gotcha. Cool.
Wordsmithing is not my strong suit.
It can even just be the story that the words come from.
Well, let's see. So, more down to earth. The reason you would seal a mine is to keep it from flooding.
Oh, that's a terrifying reason. Like, the implications of that are like legion and kind of horrible. Like, was anyone on the others? Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, this one's really good.
Or you could be a little bit more, taking a little bit of a malevolent tone might be better, like useful for sealing something out or sealing something in.
As like a...
Instead of a question, it's more of a like...
I feel like this tells me a story insofar as there's a guy who is feeling nervous about it. Mm-hmm. This is like maybe the master is like, you know, being like, well, like, gotta be careful with that. Yeah. I think I still prefer this one here on the bottom over this one, but yes.
That is entirely fair.
This sturdy door is great for deterring unwanted vandals. It's strong and boring enough to be too much work for true little perceived payout. Cool, but a bit big. He wanted a bit of Lord of the Rings, but didn't want to be too obvious. Yeah, exactly. I think on the point. To seal your quarry before you I see. Gotcha. This one. To seal in your quarry before you dig too deep. Yeah.
The one Sir actually said, I think if it was wordsmith down, actually could be kind of good. So it's like, if you do more word fragment stuff, so like great for deterring unwanted vandals. Strong and boring enough to be too much work or maybe, I don't know. I lost it as I was going through it.
They'll be bored to death by the time they get through it. I do also like, and behind door number 1, like, because that's also like, you know, I feel like there's something like open sesame, like you know.
Well, question for that actually. So, behind door number 1, that is a pop culture reference.
Mm-hmm.
So is like I haven't read in detail through tooltips. Like, how does that fit in?
We do have a couple in and out. They sort of creep in. I think they're. I don't have a strong negative reaction to them, as long as they are only in the descriptive italic text. I try to keep them out of the descriptive, the useful text.
I like Timo's.
Where?
That's great. Speak, friend, and enter. Oh no, wait, it's not locked. That's great.
That is pretty good.
Oh, that's super good. I love it.
Yeah.
I think that one wins for me.
This one does win. Alright. The good news is that I'm sure we will have more doors.
Yeah, there will be more doors. There will be more doors.
Excellent.
Yeah.
In fact, we should really look at the mason after this and see if there's some other doors there that we can add these to. And there's also okay. So, you know, it's kind of funny because what is the difference between doors and windows? I feel like you interact with doors, and as a result, you have this you can have all these conversations about the significance of this door, but there's many windows in a house and blah blah blah.
Also, these windows, they're open, right? They're open.
Yes, they are. As are all of our windows, as we do not have glass.
Well, I meant more like the lattice, right?
Yeah.
Lattice work. So we've got a normal window, and then we've got a really tall one, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're different types of clay, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, random thought, the 10 clay window frame could be great for cooling a nice warm pie, and the tall clay window could be great for cooling a really tall pie.
Okay. Wow, that's it just it creates a beautiful mental image. What is up with this? Tall clay window. Wait, yeah.
Great. What I specifically said was great for cooling a nice warm pie, and then the tall one is great for cooling a really tall pie.
Woohoo! Other thoughts? There is always a piece to knock in place. Why not a set to carve the shape of a new tomorrow? Wow. Tamor, I feel like...
Sometimes you have more than one pie cool is also cute.
Yes. Oh, that is good.
If it was a wide one, though, right?
Right.
Because otherwise you gotta, stack the pies.
Right.
I mean, everything's about pie in the end, so...
But I'm wondering about this one. There's always a piece to knock in place. Why not a set to carve? Are you talking about the mason's chisel?
I also like Sleepies because it's a reference to the blue one.
That is pretty good. Yes.
Maybe Sleepies for the normal window frame.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we need to do. I don't think in this case we need a pair joke, right?
Especially because the tall one does come before the normal one.
Yeah.
let's see. I would actually put it this way, which is no.
No, I didn't forget the die. Stop asking.
Like, yeah. Or just no, I didn't forget the die, and then,
Colorblind Jake.
yeah, right? No, it's just the idea that it's, like, right before, like, inventing this thing. It's also that minimalism is a very modern sort of concept.
Yeah.
But like just the idea that there's a beautifulness about Rai's children. Like their lines are so clean, like in the desert, especially like the desert at night. They're very reminiscent of Monument Valley for me. And minimalism is exactly what it is that their architecture is really, really good at. And that's why it's so funny that it should make sense. But just saying that it's minimalism right there is like a little bit like, you know?
Stonehearth is right, like it's more aestheticism, right? As opposed to minimalism?
Aestheticism. I am not entirely sure. Is minimalism like
Minimalism is, it's a reduction in form.
Thank you, Google, for this
aestheticism,
useless, like... Supporting the emphasis of aesthetic values.
Actually, maybe it's not. Maybe I got confused.
Yeah.
Oh well, I
Being beautiful.
I relearned what aestheticism was.
Yes, we have learned something else new. You're an hour late. What?
He's talking about a joke here.
Like, I see. Me know it's high noon. 2 pie are fitting in here.
It'd be great if it was a circular door.
Yeah.
I'd be
seriously.
super down for that. Or a circular window, sorry.
A circular window. It would. Yeah.
Actually, yes.
Yeah.
If we make a circular window, and we go with great for cooling really tall pie, the circular window should have 2 pies.
2 pie. Yeah.
So for what you just wrote, my only criticism would be the attribution is longer than the sentence.
Yes, that is certainly true.
Not
Not necessarily a problem,
Not
in that it
necessarily a
is
problem.
like there to tell a story. But I wonder if it's something like, well, this was just my thinking. But you'd have to know that we were talking about pies, but maybe that's part of the point. Like, it's like, oh, the little pie was just the right size, but like now the birds are like, you know, getting in on your pies. But then there's this little fence here, which I think is also really great. It's like, well, the pies are like, pies are safe, right?
It's a little safety.
Like,
Safety net.
yeah. Includes built-in safety net. I feel like here's another one.
It's not bad. I like that better.
It's like, there's a sense of like, we just want tan. Like, and I feel like it's this. It's like,
Earth tones are so hot right now.
maybe like, and that one then goes to an Iskander, like, then that would be something like, Yeah. Keister, let's see. Sorry.
Would you prefer, though, to say during the dice shortage?
Yes. I'm sorry, I've probably missed one. Inventor of minimalism.
Yeah, that'd be shortage.
It includes anti-pie theft measures.
Chromatism is cute too. Instead of minimalism, that actually might be more on point.
Which one? Sorry.
The very last point.
Achromatism. Ooh.
Yeah, I think that's cuter.
We were just making this better. I see. So Timur, you were writing also. These are for the herbalist staff, right? Yes. Die shortage of 847. That's really cute too. All right.
Yeah, Jeremy. Or how do you write? What convention are you using for dates right now?
Let's see. It's written down here in the journal somewhere. What today? Thanks, guys. I think it starts at 1000. Like right now, the year is 1000. And that's roughly because Stonehearth's history goes 1000 years into the past. And like the origin of the calendar is probably something related to the origin of the Phoenix Empire and all of that.
Is there a qualifier like BCE or?
Not yet. No. Let's see.
Before cupcakes.
Before cupcakes. Oh man, what was life like then?
What was life like? Yeah, that's a good question.
I like this. It's one of these.
I think it's one of those first two.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, 1000 is the current year. I think that feels right too, because it's like, well, I feel it's right because, like, it feels like it's about 1000, like in terms of civilization. Where it's really like about 1400, but, you know, there you go. I don't know. I really like this color red. Like, it's why this color red is everywhere. Like,
honestly, that could be the tooltip. I just really like this color of red.
Is that elsewhere here? Like, yeah, okay. I think I'm in here, like, various locations. Like, there's one that's a conversation between me and Tom, somewhere, I think, in the wall-mounted sign.
DGH, I probably would leave the butt out, actually. I'm thinking more like the reason when I said that, I was thinking more like the Zoolander kind of thing. I don't think it needs to be a part of a response.
Which one? On the...
Oh, he was saying instead of earth tones are so hot right now, it'd say but earth tones are so hot right now. I think I'd leave the butt out though.
It's good too. The advanced turnip shooting is pretty advanced. Oh, you know, that's really lovely. Like, rye is red. Didn't we have one that was something like, I just really like this color of red, and it was like attributed to Raya or something? Like, let's just do that. There we go.
I like that quote coasters. Yeah, it's a nice quote.
The clay roofs, the patterned clay walls don't match the clay roofs.
Is there another window, or are these all the windows? Is there one further down?
Red clay window, tall clay window, tan clay window. I think these are it.
Because I also I've only got my head stuck in this window like twice.
What?
Sleepies.
That is very good. That's really, really good.
Actually, the red clay window, since it's a square window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just do it.
Let's do it.
So our booth at PAX, I seriously, it is a very hard booth. We were joking about how we really did not want anybody to get injured at PAX, or anyone to actually get injured, and I was like, who's gonna get injured at PAX? And I was leaning down to pick up the lanyards, and I come up from leaning down to pick up the lanyards, and the next thing I know, I'm in the middle of the aisle, in the middle of the crowd, and I'm like, that's so weird, how did I get here? And it was just that sharp corner on the bottom edge of the house, and it was like, we need to add this to Stonehearth somehow. The fact that it's actually quite dangerous. There's just sharp corners on everything.
Do you watch have you watched or seen the show Gravity Falls?
No, but I want to.
So you really should.
Okay.
But very specifically, there's an episode where a character is made out of pixels, and one of the characters comments on how sharp he is.
Oh, that's too good. Ow.
Paul Robertson guest animated on the episode, if you know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
He is a famous pixel artist. He did, game-wise, he did the Scott Pilgrim
lovely.
Game. But he's more famous for some of his independent pixel art stuff.
Sweet. Okay, so the reason that these aren't in the game, actually, and we haven't been adding them straight to the game, is it actually turns out that when I actually built the game, it was actually on Yang's no ladder cost branch, so I figure I will just save these, and then I will add them later. But it is about 7:08, we've been here for an hour, so, thank you all very much for hanging out with us. Richard, thanks for hanging out with the stream.
It was fun.
I'm glad we could all work on some of these text items, and also talk about game design, and getting into the game design industry. Alright, so I guess I'm gonna call that it for tonight, and hopefully we will see you all back again tomorrow, or however many of you can make it tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning for Ali's stream, and then perhaps again at 6 o'clock on Thursday for a Yang stream. So cool. Hope you have an excellent week, guys. See you later.
Bye.